Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This week I'm joined by Elizabeth Bethel of Pro Golf Now, and hopefully later in the show Les Bailey will join us. Tonight we'll be talking about the Junior Ryder Cup, which was an incredible success at Blake Gowrie Golf Club in Perthshire, a few miles down the road from Glen Eagles, and it really has whetted the appetite for the main event to come. The United States won pretty convincingly, 16 points to 8. But the unique factor in this event is it's a mixed team event, 6 boys, 6 girls of age of 18 and under, and you had some of the best talents in golf really in the world. On the European side, you had the Youth Olympic champion Renato Paratore and the amateur champion Bradley Neal, and of course for the girls on the European side, the girl that's supposed to be the brightest star of all, which is Linnea Strong. She's been tipped for stardom for a while. And on the American side, a very, very strong team on both sides. And we'll talk about those as we go throughout the show. I just want to firstly say that the golf course is so good. It's such a traditional inland Scottish golf course. It lived up to everything which I thought it would be. Blake Gowrie was the first place that Greg Norman won on the European Tour nearly 40 years ago now, and it was presented in immaculate condition. The staging of the event was truly remarkable, really, on a scale we've not seen for such a junior event. Crowds of between 3,000 and 5,000 each day. 3,500 school kids were invited to the event by the Scottish Golf Union and the Scottish Golf Government in partnership. They run a thing called Club Golf in Scotland, which is aimed at bringing children into the game, and every school child will touch a golf club before the age of 10 or something like that. And it really did pay off. The crowds were incredible for a junior event, which I managed to catch a word with Sam Burns, who halved his match in dramatic fashion against Bradley Neal after the round, and he said that he never played in front of crowds that big and that loud, and it was like a mini Ryder Cup. But obviously, as I said, the unique factor here is you've got a mixed team. Yesterday in the afternoon, you had a mixed 4 balls where one boy and one girl would play as on a team against another boy and another girl, and it was a real success, Elizabeth. And I think possibly the Junior Ryder Cup is now arrived as a major junior team event.
It's so exciting to see the boys and the girls playing together. The Junior Solheim also combines. It's a mixed sex experience. But the Ryder Cup seems to have elaborated it to the point that the possibilities are endless. And, one of the things that I love about this is that we're seeing golf as a sport where boys and girls compete easily with each other and against each other.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
Well, I mean, you had obviously the tees, as they are in throughout golf. You had the Junior Ryder Cup boys teams were slightly further back, but it made the golf course playable for all, and there was no issue with that.
Yes.
It didn't seem out of place at all that all these players were playing alongside each other. It was an amazing event to go to, really, considering junior golf, and yes, you had some amateur players that have succeeded at a high level. But it wasn't diminished by the fact that it was such a junior event. It felt like a main tour event with the crowds and the facilities on site, and it was a major success. And it's interesting to see in the future how big this event becomes. There was an announcement this week that in 2018 it's going to be played at Disneyland Paris.
Oh my heavens!
So the potential of that.
I wonder if the Americans will get behind it like the Scots did and actually get the children there as spectators.
Well, I think that is something which is a huge success of this Junior Ryder Cup is the interact with the kids, and I think it has to
Yes.
happen in America. Um, you would say that America's well placed to do that with the various golf associations, the First Tee, um, you know, and looking ahead to Paris in 4 years' time. Um, John van der Velde, who's part of the French Ryder Cup committee, he was there today, and he can only be impressed by the way Scotland have organised it, and certainly Disneyland Paris has an opportunity to take it to another level entirely, uh,
Yes.
with a captive audience of kids, uh, to show off this amazing event. And look, you only have to look at the stars of the past, well, the stars of the present that played: Lexi
Yes.
Thompson, Victor Dubuisson, and Jordan Spieth played in the 2010 Junior Ryder Cup, and they're both playing in the 2014 Ryder Cup. So the potential is endless for this event, and I think it's great to see.
Yes. I'm very, very happy with.
So
So
just look,
tell me, Matt, you were there and saw them. How did the kids play? How would you rate the quality of their play?
the quality of play was pretty high, I would say. Um, I saw the ending of Bradley Neal's match with Sam Burns, and it was a scrappy 16th, but the 17th they both hit great tee shots. I mean, the level of golf was top stuff, and it should be from Bradley Neal. He's the amateur champion. But Sam Burns matched him shot for shot, and he held two incredible putts on the last two holes to snatch a half. And his celebration on the last hole, it was like they just won the Ryder Cup. It was the crowd interaction. It was that important to them. It was treated as an important event in their young careers, and there's no doubt that he was overjoyed with getting a half against a more illustrious name.
Did you see any of the Strom Wu match? They have their match too.
Yeah, well, I didn't, and I know Strom was two up on stage, sort of, I think, on the 12th hole, and yeah, I mean, I saw the end of one all-female match, and both of them hold incredible putts on the 18th. It was just amazing golf, and they are because of their various systems, obviously in America with your high school system, and here in Europe as well. They're already competitors as such, and they're not too far from college, and they're turning professional. Same for Bradley Neal, he's turning professional hopefully next year after he's played at Augusta and Chambers Bay, in the Masters and the US Open. So that's the type of level we're looking at. And to look at Linnea Strom, I've got the profile that was given for the players here, and she won the first ever Annika Invitational in 2012. She won the Spanish Ladies Amateur Championship, and she's not even 18 yet, and she won the Spanish Ladies Amateur. And she made the cut of the Helsingborg Open on the Ladies European Tour, and played in the 2013 Junior Solheim Cup. So these are players that are already succeeding at a high level, and I just think it's as you said, with the kids being there, they are inspired to take up this great game and go forward and one day play in this tournament.
Well, they have to be. I mean, it's one thing to see grown men and women play golf, but if you're a short person and you've just started and you see another person who's not quite so grown up playing like a grown up, it has to be inspiring. It has to be the kind of thing that makes you think, I can do it too.
Yeah, without doubt. And these the young guys and girls are all almost athletes already. You look at them physically, and they look like professional golfers. Obviously, they've got a long way to learn and develop as a golfer. But events like this, at this stage of their careers, can only help. and it can only help the growth of the game. And no longer is the Junior Ryder Cup a sideshow. It's a main event within the Ryder Cup week. And it's the job, obviously, of the United States next time to elevate it even further, and get the children interacting with the event, and get more children there. Blair Gowrie is an old place, and it was possibly at its limit with the numbers there, but somewhere like Interlaken, where it is next time, you would imagine would be capable of hosting even more spectators, even more children. And the same with Disneyland and wherever it goes after that. It's an important part, and it was run by the European Tour and the European Golf Association. So it had great facilities for the spectators, for the media, and it was a brilliant event, run like a professional event. And I think that's only fair to give these young people the credit they deserve.
Yes.
There was a great closing ceremony, flags lowered, anthems played, just like there will be at Gleneagles, and they were all decked out in their Ryder Cup suits, and it was treated like a main part of the Ryder Cup week, which is great because it's helping to grow the game at the grassroots level.
Just so envious of you. I got up this morning and, of course, Twitter was filled with pictures of Tartan Tuesday. I mean, there were all kinds of images, parodies with tartans over them. It was just wonderful. I thought, oh, I really want to be there badly. So you're the best thing.
Well, no, it's certainly worth going, and obviously free entry as well, which is great as well, and that really encourages people to come along. And everything was pretty central next to the clubhouse, which is great. And yeah, I was just blown away by the condition of the golf course. The condition of the golf course was absolutely immaculate. It could have hosted any event in the world. It really could. Which is great because it means they took it seriously because it was a big event, and to see the amount of children there, or being able to swing golf clubs or get involved with the game for the first time is crucial to the game's development, and Scotland have a model with club golf which they really do have to grasp in other countries. And get this game growing like it was 10 to 20 years ago when Tiger first came along. And it's important that we have more junior team competitions, I think. Maybe a junior international crown.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Let's shift to the scores and see if you can talk about why Team USA really seemed to have cleaned up. Were the American kids that much better than the European kids?
Well, if you look at the single scores, I mean, the United States won 7 out of 12, and the Europe only won 2. 3 matches were halved. And I think, obviously, that comes down to experience. You look at a lot of the American players, they're playing in things like the Junior PGA Championship. They're competing all the time as individuals. They've got college to go to, so they have to play to a certain level to get into the college. And I think, obviously, that was always the case with the Ryder Cup, was the Americans were better individually. Because if you look at the United States got 16 points, and they won 7. They won 8.5 of those today. Mm-hmm. So when it was a team format, it was very close. I'll just look at the scores from yesterday.
Yeah, but we edged you guys on everything. on the foursomes, on the four balls, and really on the singles. But
Yeah,
I'm looking at the kids these are all high school kids. They're not in college yet.
no. Well, I think you have to say then that yes, I mean they are better, but I think reasons for that are that the structure of junior golf in Europe isn't as geared towards competition. I would say um, we don't. For example, in the UK, we don't really have a formal high school golf program at all. Um, it's only specialist colleges like the one that I went to that really, once you reach the age of 16, 18, you have to choose to do that. There's no option really in schools where you can say, for physical education, choose to play golf and represent the school at golf, and then you compete on a regional and then national level. We don't have that in Europe. So I think that's somewhere which we definitely need to improve, and that's a major thing because if you're competing for your high school, you're playing regular competition, um, and that does help. I think talent-wise, I don't think there's anything between the teams. I saw a young wiry, I think it's Mr. Kinholt. He was about 5'1" tall and 3 inches wide. And he bombed this ball. I mean, on the 18th, he bombed it over the tree on the right on the 18th at Black Arrow, and he must have had less than 100 yards in for his second shot. Um, and I think talent-wise, I don't think there's anything between the teams, but I do think competition hardened is why the Americans have convincingly won in the last few junior Ryder Cups. Um,
Uh,
That's not an excuse. It's just a fact. I think that can be borne out in the fact that um, until you become an elite player, look at Bradley Neal. He became an elite player very quickly because he was very talented. But until you have that, there's no high school golf program in the UK, which it does hold players back because they have
yeah.
to look for opportunities and they have to have very supportive parents to do that. And that's not always the case. So I think from a talent standpoint, there's no doubt that some of these players are very, very good. Um, but the United States had the edge again, and well, maybe it's a consolation for their defeat later in the week, I think.
Well, you say, you say. We're not there yet.
No. Well,
It's
it's the
still
only
coming.
sort of way you've won recently against Europe. So, so
We'll see. I'm less passionate about the men's game than the women's game. So,
well, even in the women's game, you couldn't win last year, could you? So,
I would say that we can't talk about the international crown. That's over, and we have to go forward. And, but no, I'd say I want to go back to this business of the kids because I think golf everywhere is something that's the cradle is always in the private clubs.
yeah.
I mean, that's where it begins, and the fact that American schools have golf teams, and provide some level of competition, maybe less important. That's just an outlet to kind of keep things going. But the real cradle of golf is in the club, the life of the club, and children being exposed at a preteen age to even the idea of playing golf. That's where it's happening.
Yeah, and that's where the club golf program.
So kids who pick up the club at 8 or 10 or 12 are way ahead, and they compete internally in their clubs.
Yeah.
I assume they do also in European venues.
Oh, sure, that does happen, but that is great if you're a member of a golf club, but if say you've got an option of golf at school, you're not necessarily going to be a member of a golf club, and that gives you an opportunity to play recreationally with schoolmates and then competitively with the school team, the school events. That really is the difference, I believe, because the club golf system is very good. We have a lot of competitions. Just at the club that I also work at, you have a lot of junior competitions and junior matches, but it's obviously only open to the members of that club. So and
Yeah.
it's difficult when if you have that other layer of competitive school golf. I think you would see our players becoming very, very good at a young age. And we do have some. We have a lot, but not as many, I would say, as the United States has.
Well, you'll come along, won't you?
I think so. And there's another issue. I was speaking to Bradley Neal's father today, and the issue is that Scotland has an immense number of great, talented young amateurs. But when they turn professional, something happens. They can't cope with the professional life, or it just doesn't happen for them. Or it takes a very long time for it to happen, like Richie Ramsey, for instance, or somebody like Lloyd Saltman, who was actually tipped as the best player in 2005, 2006, Walker Cupper, and he's just not done it as a professional in 10 years nearly 10 years as pro. And look at Stephen Gallagher; it's taken him nearly 20 years on the tour to make a Ryder Cup team.
Yeah.
And Scotland's had one major champion since Sandy Lyle. So really, Scotland's had 3 major wins in now 100 years, which for the nation that invented the game is nowhere near good enough. And that is something which almost can't be explained, because the facilities here in St Andrews are unrivaled anywhere in Britain, maybe even Europe. So hopefully that many of these players from the Junior Ryder Cup sides go on to not just represent Europe and America in the Ryder Cup, but actually perform as individuals and win major titles.
One of the other things that we frequently think about but don't really talk about is the fundamental difference between a team of Europeans and a team of Americans. The Americans are coming in with a national identity.
Yes.
Preformed. The Europeans are coming in with multiple national identities and trying to form themselves into a whole that's basically rather artificial, despite the EU, despite all that. There's still that fundamental difference in how these groups of players, whether they're young kids or grown people, how they perceive themselves and what they're playing for.
Well, I think that's a very good point, because I think obviously if you're an adult playing in the main Ryder Cup, you've had years playing on the tour, you play with these players all the time, and so they bond naturally, and then they're formed into a team, because then they get inspiration from the past, like Seve, etc. But if you're a youngster, you don't have that as much, or if at all, and you've not got that bond because of the different nationalities. And whereas there was a comment made to me today actually that the American team looked a lot tighter, a better group, and obviously that is the case because they're all American, same flag, same country. And at a younger age, that's more important than an older age, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great way to start the week. There's no doubt about that. And just looking at the scenes at Eagles, it should be an amazing week. And the crowds already there are pretty amazing.
Well, what's your schedule? What's your schedule for the rest of the week now, Matt?
The schedule for the rest of the week is doing work tomorrow, a couple of preview articles for the Ryder Cup, and then on Thursday I will be there from my train leaves Dundee at 5 to 6 in the morning, get to Glen Eagles for around 7 a.m. and follow some of the practice rounds, have lunch, enjoy the tented village, which is enormous, and then watch the opening ceremony, and then hopefully go and take photos of the golf course. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be in front of the TV, also tweeting away and writing away, and hopefully, as I said, we will be able to have hangouts on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday to look at the pairings for Friday morning. Friday to react to the day's play, and then same on Saturday, with previewing the final day, and then Sunday we'll all celebrate with a glass of champagne. Europe's resounding with.
All right. Well, I'll stay tuned to participate where you want me in.
So, but it's going to be a great week regardless. It's been a huge struggle in Scotland recently over this independence referendum, and I think this is the opportunity to bring the nation back together and follow one man in Stephen Gallagher, and hopefully he can sink the winning putt on Sunday, and everything will be all right again.
There's a part of me that really wants the Europeans to win, just because I like you so much.
Oh, thank you very much.
but it's a small part. It's not out of control.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, from myself and Elizabeth, that's good night, and we'll see you again later in the week.
And congratulations to the American